Mr. Bondi.
There's that.
So, Dave, why don't you tell everyone who you are, what you do, how they can follow you,
Oh,
where they
really?
can, where they can
Okay.
find out more information about Dave.
DaveBondi.com. Dave
That's it.
Bondi on Instagram. Google Dave Bondi.
Well, let's just show them this, that you collaborated with Good For You Toys on this piece right
Correct.
here.
That is correct.
And if I'm correct, you digitally sculpted that piece.
Yeah.
Based on Good For You's concept.
Yeah. Which they came up with from like 2-3 years ago, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Maybe longer. Was a pin.
Hey, it takes them a long time to.
Yeah, well, you know, we all move at our own pace, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I did. I did that thing with those guys.
You did that thing. Good job.
Yeah. No, I mean, I saw it. I was like, you know, I was like, that's hilarious, guys. It's crazy. I want to like be a part of that somehow. Are you going to make it? And they're like, yeah, we want to totally make it. You want to sculpt it? I'm like, yeah, I want to fucking sculpt it. So that was the deal with that. I just saw it. I had to do it. One of those things.
Can you talk about the other stuff that you do?
Oh.
What do you do? I mean, obviously, you digitally sculpted that, and you know, you've worked on a lot of other projects. You have a specialty in this industry. We'll wait while you have a drink.
A specialty? What do you mean?
Well, you don't have a specialty?
I mean, I sculpt stuff. So I do a lot of digital sculpture. Well, it's Sarah Churchill. What's happening? So I sculpt stuff. I do my own toys too. I've been doing digital art for 20 years, probably, like make video games, animation, stuff like that. I've done a lot of animation, video game work. Been doing it since I was like 22, probably.
Nice.
Wow,
you're dating yourself. You're old.
I am, yeah.
You said that you do a lot of digital sculpting, but you've done, like, if you look at all of the things that you've digital sculpted for all of these artists in the designer toy industry, it's pretty crazy, especially all the Joe Ledbetter toys. The Joe Ledbetter toys are kind of all next level.
Mr. Bunny.
Mr. Bunny, like, but how many of them? How many toys have you done for Joe?
For Joe? Wow, probably like 10, maybe more. Well, if you count Finders Keepers, which was like the first mini series, I did all of those.
Can you grab me the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man? So we had a project with Scott C. He had a show opening Gallery 1988, and he called us and he said, "Hey, I know we make all these small figures, but I need some big figures."
Yeah.
And I mentioned this to Dave, and Dave got very excited. He's like, me, I want to do that. I want to do that.
That's how it usually happens.
Yeah. And so this is an edition of 10. They are now pictured on the back of the Scott C pieces, and they are to scale with they're to scale with the 3 3/4 inch figures. And the way that you've taken this and it just taken Scott C's work and turned it into this, you know, 3-dimensional model, which was then printed and then cast. And this is hollow resin.
Yeah, it's huge. We got to go over to the studio too and check it out.
That was fun. Lance's studio was super crazy because it's a special effects studio, and they had all these projects. You had to like sign a waiver, like when an NDA when you walk in. And that was super nuts. See all like this projects that they're in the middle of, and all the costumes and all the stuff that they've created. That was also a lot of fun.
Yeah, but like to see the thing printed out for the first time, because I'm just used to seeing it on the screen, you know, and like spinning it around and stuff like that. It's like whenever something gets actually printed out and physically made, it just always blows me away. It's like, that's the most fun thing, getting to hold it actually after it's been digital, and I've been staring at like all these little details and stuff, and like,
Right.
That's not quite right or whatever, and kind of fussing about it and stuff. And they always end up turning out like better.
Yeah, it's really a fantastic piece. So this was one of 3 pieces.
Yeah.
You want to grab the Godzilla is not here because
Oh.
there was only one Godzilla made, which was the original that Scott and Alyssa painted to be in the show. And then that paint job had to be ruined because that had to be taken back and cast in order to make the subsequent castings. But Ian, can you grab the other AT-AT?
How did you pick these, by the way?
Pick what?
The subjects, like which things to do.
Scott and I talked about it. We tried to figure like what he wanted, something Star Wars, and he wanted like what could be large.
Mm-hmm. That guy was fun.
And it just I don't know. It's kind of crazy. So these are still available from the Gallery 1988 website. I think they're $2,500. They're an edition of 10.
Not cheap.
Not cheap, but I think for what they are, like, I don't know, it's really crazy. I mean, I think they will all sell out eventually.
I hope so. I mean, if people understand how much work gets put into just making that thing, they would get why it costs that much to do. It's not like it's not like you just
so many people involved.
Yeah, tons of work gets put into that, and it's still going on right now. Lance is still working his butt off trying to make more.
Yeah. So Lance is a really good resource. He is making. He's kind of opened up a shop and is making stuff for people. So if you have projects, I don't know if he wants to do like 3 3/4 inch casting, but if you have larger projects, Scott, I mean, because this was rotocast. I saw the rotocast machine. It was this big, like, vroom, 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 vroom. So instead of making this in solid resin, they pour it in and then they let it dry. Person to pick up at 4 wants to look at back wall.
What?
Wall? What? Oh, sure. Well, because we were open to the public. We said we were going to open. So there's actually a shopper.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Who's coming by. Because we said at 10, if you want to stop by, we'd let people in, 1 per person if they were wearing a mask. And, they put some goop on their hands and take their temperature and everything. And come and visit and see if there's anything that they want. So we can have a shopper interrupt us. Pretty awesome. So what's next on the agenda for Mr. Bondi?
Joe and I are working on some stuff that's going to come out for DKECON. I'm working on thing with dollar slice that we just talked about. A couple other people I can't mention because it's just not allowed. The thing for Joe is going to be, the theme that Ben has put together. You know the theme, right?
The theme of DKECON, isn't that Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he commissioned Joe to do something for that.
I got it. Because last year was Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But then is this going to happen? DKECON going to happen? It's all going to be virtual? I don't know. We shouldn't spend time talking about it. No one wants to hear about that.
Yeah.
That's what we do when I go on Toy Geeks. We spend I'm like, are we here to talk about toys? And then we spend like the whole time sort of just like talking about like if stuff's going to happen. It's really kind of annoying. And then I get mad.
Is anything going to happen now?
Is anything going to happen? No.
Like,
well, this is happening.
Is it like, it's just kind of.
I'm not going to get into that conversation with you. We're not going to have a philosophical discussion today.
Oh, we're not?
No, not in front of all these people.
Well, why not?
Because they're just going to tune out and like just be like, boop, goodbye.
Oh, really? Okay. So you want to talk about like things that are supposedly interesting. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. Well, the conversations that you and I generally have are just these roundabout conversations that take several hours that, conclude with us going, well, Who knows? You know?
What? Let's go get some food, man. Where do you want to eat?
After several hours of speculation, well, what do you think? Well, this guy says this. Well, this is like, okay. And then, yeah, I don't know, dude. It's,
You don't want to tell me all about like, you know, like your human biome and like what's going on in your gut?
oh, okay. So I don't think people like Rika freaked out when I was talking about my septic tank. Um, yeah. So Dave was here the other day, and he asked me just like the simplest question, and I think I just spent like a half an hour talking about digestion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was kind of fascinating, and I don't know. I think he
No, but I
appreciated
came back.
what I had
back
to
a
say.
wiser. I came back a wiser, more well-informed human being. You know, and to me, that's like really super important. That's why I like you so much, because you like, you know, you like prod my.
Because I think too much.
Yeah, you've got ideas. You have a perspective. Yeah.
I mean, life would be so much easier if I was just sort of like ignorant and just didn't care and didn't know and just, you know, I don't know, if I could just like drink a beer and sit on the couch and watch the game, like I would like, I don't know. Can't do that
Did
because
you watch?
I have to like dissect it, you know, it's like pull everything apart.
Did you watch The Last Dance? This thing on
So,
Netflix?
what was that? The Michael Jordan?
Yeah.
Yes, I watched all of that. It's
Oh my
great.
God. So
Not
awesome.
only did I watch that, there was another half an hour that this guy did on YouTube that continued for the rest of Michael Jordan's career. After that, with the Wizards, and that half an hour was like sort of like an unofficial addendum to The Last Dance, and I thought that was really interesting because they kind of put into perspective, like, you know, how all that happened, and still kind of a, you know, amazing story. I mean, I came away from that like, I mean, obviously, it's you know, amazing to experience someone who is, you know, the best at what they do, or the best, you know, at something that there ever will be or there ever was. Um, and as an example of like,
What was the YouTube thing? Tell people where to go.
I don't know,
Oh.
just go Michael Jordan Last Dance and Google it and see if it comes up. Um, but he is a perfect example of how, you know, humans have to like, you know, fool themselves, like we're this animal over 2 million
Here
years
we
of evolution, 2 million years of evolution. Oh, here we go. That you brought it up, right?
I
That, you know, we behave in certain ways, and it's interesting because I have to deal with this with a 6-year-old all the time, like
oh,
um
you're Michael Jordan 6.
and we have no we have these instincts, right? Some of which help us on a daily basis, and some, oh, Marco just posted the the link there.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these things that help us, and you know, so you know, if you read like Michael Pollan, like Michael Pollan talks about, he's talks a lot about food and the evolution of food. And he talks about uh, you know, salt, sweet, and fat, right? And how those three things were very rare, you know, in evolution. And so if you wandered around the tundra or whatever and you found something sweet or fat or salty, you would go and you'd have as much as you could, right? It was very rare and it was good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I can go to 7-Eleven and I can get the freaking like Mountain Dew like this big as much as I want. And
You get all that shit you want. It's like
so I have to
in your
explain that to a
DNA.
6-year-old, like, your body says you want it, and having a little bit is good for you, but like when you take it to that next level, you know, now that technology has made it for you that you can have as much as you want, you know, you kind of have to fool yourself. And so what Michael Jordan did is, you know, he fooled himself, right? I mean, that's what it was about. It was about his mindset, that if he was good at anything, it was about convincing himself that he had to do something, and he had to do it at all costs. And if someone else didn't, and he kind of proved that when someone didn't make him mad on purpose, he figured out a reason to be mad and made up a reason to be mad, and then went and performed and used that. He just knew how to make himself feel a certain way in order to perform, and he just kind of, jimmied the system, like he just knew himself. And it's like, if we could all do that in life, that's all about, it's like when you're a kid, and my tendency, I want to just sit on the couch and watch TV. But if you do your homework first, like, you'll do it faster. You know if you have a goal, so you kind of, you make.
Yeah, but that Jordan's goals were fueled by anger. Like, he was like pissed off all the time. Like, he was finding things to get pissed off about, and then he would like excel after that. And people are just like, I guess we shouldn't have pissed him off.
Right.
Like, the whole time people are like, well, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
Shit,
but
now I got my ass.
but that's the thing. It's like, even if you didn't, he'd make up a reason. Like, this is a person who clearly understood his body and what it took to be excellent. And that's something to aspire to for the rest of us, not in basketball, but just to have an understanding of, there's a word for that. What do you call that when you have a credit card and you leave the credit card at home knowing that you won't spend the money? There's a certain behavior that I could look it up and find out if you really wanted. No, it's kind of that fooling yourself. It's like, I know that if I take my credit card and I go shopping, I'm going to spend too much money. So I'm going to leave it at home and prevent myself.
How's the viewership going now?
Oh, man.
Are you seeing numbers drop off? Is this like
31. We've only lost 3.
At what point? It's like,
Nah, they're all at work, not paying attention anyway.
Well, here, okay, so here, I get what you're saying. I think
you're the one that
also,
brought up Michael Jordan, dude.
I know. I was just watching it, and it's like the realization that I came back from it with was like, they wouldn't have won in 1991. Like, they went for 7 years with Jordan being like, I myself, as this force of nature, can just make it all happen. Like, I can just, like, as long as I just will it to be, it's, we're going to become like champions or whatever, right? Phil Jackson comes along and he's like, they saw, like, with Detroit made up this defense. It was like the shut down Jordan defense. Right. It's like pretty straightforward, right? It worked, and Jackson was like, look, as long as we keep playing this kind of offense, that's like the Michael Jordan offense, people are going to be able to make like defenses that are designed specifically around that, and they're going to shut us down. He's like, you've got other guys on this team who are awesome, and we can take advantage of that, and so we're going to do that. And so, like, in the finals against the Lakers in '91, right? What happens in the last game? They're tied up 80-80, and Jackson finally sits him down like at a timeout, and he's like, who's open? And Jordan's like, Paxson's open, right?
That was amazing.
And he's like, well, then get the ball to Paxson, right? You don't have to take that shot. And that's like the key. That is the key word for the whole thing for me, is like, you don't have to take that shot. Like, winning a championship doesn't mean that you're taking the shot. It means that you're taking advantage of, like, what your teammates can do, what your opponents think they're going to do. You're going to do whatever. And like, he realized that and dished the ball off, and boom, they won the thing. Paxson made like 7 shots after that. And
there are the great players on the team, but what makes him, Jordan, so great is that not only is he so great when he has the ball, but the threat of him is so great, that he's distracting to the point that he can let the other people shine.
And that's when they won. That's when they started winning.
It was a magic formula.
On that level, he was always like, I want to be like Bird. I want to be like Magic. Well, guess what? Those guys are team players.
Right.
Like, they won because they understood the value of, like, playing the entire team, playing the whole, the whole range of options that are available. That, to me, is the best metaphor. Like, that's what I get out of it. It's like, we live in a society where everybody focuses on, like, what individuals do. And like, our value system is like shaped around what individual achievement is. And everybody should, like, just like manifest their own reality and leave everybody out of it. But the truth is, like, if we want to win as a group collectively, we got to listen to people like Phil Jackson, who's like, every human has some value somewhere, and there's a place for them.
there's not a lot of that right now in our culture. Like everything is, unfortunately, that kind of started out with like Ronald Reagan, like take what you can while you can get it kind of attitude. Um,
Yeah, greed is
and
good.
and and greed is good in some ways. It's just not. If that's one of those things, if you use the greed to propel you to do something great, that's wonderful. If you use the greed to go and screw over other people and ruin other people's lives, that's horrible. So it just there's got to be some sort of limits, like, and
Well, yeah, but
it has to be a level playing field for all, which it is clearly
yeah,
not.
but then we're in a system right now that's designed around basically to reward individual achievement and greed, basically.
Mhm.
So like
But
it's like
to
we have
to the
rules.
to the right, but to the detriment of the greater good, the people on the planet.
Yeah, but it's like we have the rules for a single player sport,
Mhm.
and we all follow that. But it's like we're playing a team sport here. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like that's for me the biggest thing is like it's a group effort, people.
But
And
it's kind of like going to a protest. So 1,000 people show up to a protest because there's something that they don't like and it's peaceful, and it just takes one person to throw a brick, right, to turn it all on its head.
yeah,
And so the current system is kind of set up that very few people can act very simply and be so divisive and just ruin it for everyone else. We're talking
did you
about
see did you see the
peaceful,
brick bomb
peaceful.
that
No,
people were putting around, like the whole conspiracy around brick bombs during the protests
it's not a conspiracy. They saw cops taking bricks out of a truck. I mean,
and putting them
but
on the street?
yeah, I mean, quite often that first person who throws a brick, right, is a cop, is an undercover cop.
Right. Like,
That you can go see. They caught the guy in Minneapolis who was going and breaking out all the windows. His ex-wife outed him. We put a side-by-side photo, and he's holding an umbrella, right? So the helicopters know. Side-by-side photos, like it's like that dude was a cop. That
yeah.
started it because anyway. I don't want to go to. It's not a
Eh,
conspiracy theory. It is It's a very specific, divide and conquer um, uh, tactic. You can read about it in like the art of war. You just go in there and you disrupt, and very few disruptions from the other side can just totally muck it up unless all 999 people out of 1,000 are like on it, right?
right. Yeah.
But otherwise, like one brick, and then the pretense there for the cops to just react and start. I mean, if you just listen to Morgan's story in New York, like it was just completely peaceful and they just decided to go home, and then the cops just felt like they didn't get their you know their head busting in for the day, and they're like, okay guys, like I think we're gonna call it quits and go home, and then that's when like the whistle blew, and then just bam, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that, I don't know,
It's
that
nuts.
all that that's nuts, like all
I
that's gotta like.
I saw it happen a lot with Occupy. I was doing a lot of Occupy stuff when that was in town.
Mhm.
And they had like this ethos basically, and this is like what killed it for me. I was like, oh god, okay. And the ethos was that everybody has a voice, right? It doesn't matter like who you are, where you're from, whatever. Everybody gets a chance to speak, and that's just like a
Mhm.
recipe for fucking disaster. Like
Mhm.
it made it like it
I
had to
mean,
be like easiest situation for anybody to come in and like
sure.
mess up the conversation. Like I
I
don't
mean,
agree. I'm
but
sorry, I
right,
don't. No, I'm sorry, Doug. No, yeah, Doug, I'm talking right now. I don't agree, and that was
right.
like it. You know?
But the thing is, like, everyone should have a voice, and everyone is entitled to have a voice. However, when you're out there for a specific purpose, right? That's when it's kind of like then whoever's leading the group is kind of like the dictator. You know what I mean? It's kind of like it's kind of like you need um, in order to achieve a situation where everyone can express themselves, you kind of need a dictator or a leader to come in and guide people to get to that point. It's kind of, it's kind of like Stanley Kubrick. It's like, I'm going to make a movie, with that is super violent to promote nonviolence.
Yeah.
It's like, so in order to achieve what you want, you have to kind of do the opposite. I don't know.
Dictatorships are like phenomenally effective.
Well, I'm not talking about a dictatorship in government. I'm just saying, like, so you make a movie, right? The director is in charge. It's a dictatorship. You got one person who's in charge, who's making all the decisions. And that's because whoever with the money has entrusted this person and their vision, and everyone is there to help that person along get to a certain goal, right? And that seems undemocratic, and it is, right? But making a piece of art is not a democratic process, right? So there's some processes that are democratic, which should be our government, but trying to achieve change, um, like, well, I don't know if
Mhm.
Occupy was trying to achieve change. Occupy was just trying to occupy, and they didn't, like, if they had if they had one thing that they were fighting for, if they were fighting for civil rights or gay rights or something like that, they would have been more effective. And then, because in today's media age, there was nothing for anyone to get behind. There's a bunch of weird kids outside, and I don't know what they want. It's like, well, we want, they list like 20 things that they want. It's like,
Uh-huh.
how about just free healthcare? How about free college? How about just something? It's like, I don't know.
That's kind of what's going on right now. Is it's sort of blossoming into like this whole thing about just injustice in general.
Right. Yeah.
And that's, specific kinds of injustice are hard enough to get your head around.
Indeed. Alrighty, sir.
Yeah.
I appreciate you stopping by. We will continue this conversation and not torture these people with our
Sorry, people.
crazy meandering about life. And
this is what happens. I mean, seriously, like, this is what, like, if people want to know what it's like when Bondi and Dove get together, that's it right there. It's like the whole thing. Plus, there's some kind of food element usually.
Right. You get distracted by it. It's like, oh, can I get a side of that?
Good food element. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Dove is the king of trash food. He knows what to eat, man. Can trust him implicitly.
I'm the king of trash food.
Yeah. Everything I've ever had with you is like under $5.
Oh, well, because if you come out, well, if you have a larger budget and you want to explore, you let me know.
Okay. We'll see when that happens.
But generally, I'm paying for lunch, so
yeah.
There's that. But being where we are in North Hollywood here in Pacoima, what's really fantastic around here are the tacos. And the tacos out here are cheap. They're $1. They're $1.50, and the Salvadoran pupusa place over there is just like, I mean, I've had people, who I've taken to these places who are, a little kind of snotty, and then I say, we're going to go to this place and have a taco, and this is like all this like barbecue pork on a spit, and they're going to cut it off, and they're going to give you this piece of like magical meat in tortilla.
They show you the pic.
And then you just see the look on their face. They're just like, holy shit.
Yeah,
it's like,
you've expanded mine, Dove. I will now eat an entire shrimp, like full on the whole thing.
Right. So just to let people in, we got some cheap Chinese food. It's kind of a Panda Express style place, but an independent, like, mom and pop. And so they have the salt and pepper shrimp, and the heads are on the shrimp. And I'm telling Bondi, like, just eat the head. And he just was like, what? There's eyeballs there. What do? I just chew through it. I'm like, yes, you just eat the head. It's actually delicious. And I didn't know until I was in a Thai restaurant, and I pulled all the heads off, and they were sitting on a plate, and I got like kind of abused by the server.
That's what it takes.
Who was like, you're not eating those? I'm like, no. Do you eat those? And she just picked one up off my plate, popped it in her mouth, and just like, yum, 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 yum. It's like, holy shit. Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Now I'm thinking about it right now.
He's like, oh, I gotta go eat some shrimp heads. All right, dude. On that note, I'm gonna go eat lunch.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.